Hugo is an Optimum Nutrition ambassador, and they have unveiled a new partnership with the IRFU, becoming the official performance nutrition partner of Irish Rugby. Through this alliance, Optimum Nutrition will deliver nutritional support to all IRFU teams, including the national men's and women's squads. Hugo, it's kind of mad to think that it's almost this day, 5 years ago exactly, that you made your Ireland debut, the 24th of October 2020. Ireland 50, Italy 17. And it must have been like a combination of a dream day for you, but also a very strange day. Like, no friends there, no family there. You run out to an empty stadium, you do the anthems, you're not looking at anyone. But then at the same time, two tries in the first half. Couldn't have gone any better from a rugby perspective. But how do you reflect on that now? It was such a different world. Was it an odd kind of way to make your debut? And like, how do you kind of look back on it?
Yeah, looking back, it was definitely odd. It was definitely strange. Like mad not playing in front of anybody. But at the time, you'd had the lockdown. You were just itching to get back playing for Leinster. I know when COVID came, I was sort of knocking on the door, but I hadn't broken through, so it made it nearly more frustrating. But then, yeah, I think when you put on that green jersey, like you do it in any circumstance, it definitely wasn't the debut that I dreamed of in front of a full stadium. But I think it was probably good for me in one sense as well. It probably took away a little bit of that pressure that can come with it, and it's a bit clearer communication wise on the field, and you can hear people. So it was a good sort of stepping stone into my international career. But once you taste that atmosphere, the buzz of having family, friends, supporters all there, you obviously sort of know what you're missing, and yeah, it's a strange one to look back on. I suppose you said it was probably what 5 years from my debut. I hadn't really thought about it that way. It was more the Soldier Field game against Chicago when Ireland played New Zealand. Was in 2016, wasn't it? It more rings a few bells because I made my Leinster debut that same day against Zebre. So that was sort of been on my mind rather than the Irish one.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't realise that. God, so did you get to watch the game that night? Then you must have been. It must have been some day
No,
for
I
you.
remember being in the airport and sort of between laptops and iPhones, being on Sky Go, sort of seeing as much as we could, but we were traveling back, and yeah, it was a bit of a strange one. I think I must have watched it the next day fully through, obviously because of how special a game it was, and yeah, it's funny sort of looking back on that now.
Are you must have serious FOMO this week of all the guys going over to Chicago, getting 2 weeks over there as well. God,
I
that's
know,
that seems a little generous. I think
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't
Yeah.
believe it. 11 days. Very, very jealous. No, it definitely has been, I suppose, the toughest week and most frustrating one. Like there's a bit of envy of the lads going off, but also obviously the Munster game, and it's the first sort of week you're like, oh God, I am really missing this. Um, I'm sort of 2 months now post surgery, and the first few weeks were holidays, and then the reintroduction of Irish lads and Lions lads over the last couple of weeks. Um, so you're not missing too much, but it's these weeks that you miss, and those trips, which will be a class experience, going over to Chicago with so much history, and yeah, playing in a bit of an iconic stadium.
Yeah, definitely a tough one to miss out on. Like, was the injury something you picked up on the actual tour itself, or is it just something you needed to get tidied up afterwards?
So yeah, I've to be honest been dealing with it for a bit. I hurt my hip a good while ago in the Six Nations in 2024, and I've had a sort of a few incidents in games since that have made it worse. And it was something that was lingering at the end of last season, and I didn't really know when I was going to hit a wall with it. I didn't know whether that was going to be in the 2025 Six Nations or the sort of finals rugby with Leinster, or didn't know if I was going to sort of get through that Lions tour once I was picked. Um, so like credit to my physio and S&C and the management and their plan and sort of minding me to get to that point and through all that. And it, I suppose, made it a little bit easier when I had to make the decision in the middle of that Lions trip on whether to get surgery or not, that it was on my own terms, that I could dictate when it was, that I had a bit of a choice in that situation. And I sort of picked the brains of a few physios, both in Ireland and Leinster, and a few ex-players and players who've had a similar sort of injury on what to do, and had to sort of step back and take a long-term approach on it, on what's best to do. And if there's any good time to get an op after a Lions tour or at the end of a season, is probably the best, because you don't miss as much as you would. Um, so yeah, it's been tough. It's been a challenge. It's a new sort of one for me, having my first long term injury. But look, there's a lot worse situations, and at least it's on my own terms.
Yeah, as you say, signing off with the Lions Test Series win isn't the worst way to kind of go into hibernation for a while. Like, when you hear of a hip injury, like they can be nasty ones. Like, what's the prognosis like? How long is it going to take you to get back, do you think?
So I sort of just have to be patient with it. There's no point when you choose to do something like this. You have to get it right. So, um, taking a longer term approach on it. So I'm targeting in around New Year's. We don't have a fixture in mind, but um, yeah, there's still plenty to play for come January, with obviously European games, interprovincials, and then into a Six Nations. So I suppose that's the target in the back of my mind. But I suppose I have to hit a few markers my physios and S&C staff are setting out for me to get me to that point. So sort of just worrying about that. And yeah, those are the bits that I can control at the moment. So just tipping away with them.
What's your Monday to Friday like now? Like, so it was obviously last week the Leinster players would have been preparing for the Munster game. Like, what's your day to day?
Like, you're still in there. You don't get to sit at home or anything. You're nearly have busier days because you're still attending those meetings. You're still trying to input where you can, give a hand to the back three or the backs. Just like any other week that people aren't involved, it's sort of all hands on deck. So you've got that element where you're even trying to stay on top of all the new learnings, any new systems or plays, so you're not playing catch up come your return to the field. And then on top of that, they work you hard, doing a lot of gym work, a lot of pool work, doing swimming since I can't run, on the bike a bit, spending a lot of time on the physio table as well. So it's a little bit different. I suppose you get your weekends off. It's a bit more like a 9 to 5 job, so to say. And yeah, it's been a challenge. But yeah, keeping busy, and yeah, trying to stay active both physically and mentally.
Yeah, that first Bronco test when you get back on your feet will be tough. I don't know if you'll be able to reclaim your top score that
Yeah.
you've been setting over the years.
Yeah, I'm probably kicking myself now that I've sort of set a benchmark for myself. But I don't think that'll be matched this time, unfortunately. I think that was post COVID. There probably wasn't much else to do other than run in that period. And yeah, trying to keep up fitness as much as I can. I'm doing a lot of swimming sessions with Joe McCarthy. He puts me to shame in the pool. My first few were more drowning than swimming, to be honest. So that's been a different sort of challenge to me. And I might do a little bit of boxing as well. It was good for Dan Sheehan on his return to play from his cruise ship. So looking at maybe challenging the body in those different ways, as well as sort of keeping the mind fresh,
Yeah.
and trying to somewhat enjoy the fitness and not have that Bronco hanging over me come my return.
Yeah, well, I suppose your fitness, stood you in good stead in the Lions' second test, in the end game, getting over for that try. How many times have you watched that try, would you say, since then?
No comment, no comment.
But how do you reflect on it now? Like, Obviously, Irish fans are obviously always keen for the Irish guys to get into the test team and do well. So for an Irish player to get the winning moment was pretty special, I think, for all the supporters. But how do you reflect on that now, a couple of months later?
Yeah, it was a cool moment. It was a special one, I suppose, winning the series in the first place. But to get that moment and having so many family and friends in the crowd, I saw so many people that I knew, so many people I've seen since saying that they were there, and how much crack they had in the celebrations and in that moment. Pretty special. And I suppose the tour was a bit of a whirlwind for me. It definitely didn't go according to plan or on script, with a bit of illness thrown in the mix, an injury coming into it, and then also deciding that I was going under the knife only a week after that last test. So it was sort of a roller coaster of emotions throughout. And yeah, it's a cool one to look back on sort of now, the highs and lows of it. And yeah, it's been good.
It's interesting you say that because, yeah, I hadn't thought of it from your perspective. Like, you came in carrying an injury, then you had your illness. Then you kind of got elevated into the test team and you got to start all three tests. And as you say, in the background, then you were making this decision around your injury and what to do with that. So it must have been was it a stressful time?
It was a little, and I suppose, like, to be honest, I only got into the test team because of other injuries. Like, I was definitely down the pecking order. Elliot Daly was obviously in class form, and then Blair's a quality player, and they both picked up knocks. Um, and yeah, I was probably feeling sorry for myself at times. It was like 12 days and 6 kilos down in weight, and there was sort of no sign of getting better. But things can change quickly, and those were sort of challenges that I had to face, and new ones that I had to come across. But um, yeah, I had a bit of luck in there as well as a bit of bad luck as well. So I can't feel sorry for myself, and that's just the nature of sport, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and as you spoke about your illness at the time, like, what an inopportune time to get so badly sick, like in the middle of the line store. Like, it must have been very strange. Like, everything is moving on outside you, and you're just kind of like almost quarantined from everybody.
I know. It was mad, and you don't really feel a part of the group until you play, until you train. And I was injured, and it was only the day I got cleared to play and to return fully was the day I picked up that parasite. So you feel like you're only getting there, and then you're stopped again. I missed flights from, say, Perth to Adelaide with the squad. I was sent on a different path to get there. And yeah, you're nearly the only thing you're nearly talking about when you see lads is your illness, because you don't really get to make those connections properly. So it was a funny old start to the campaign and to the tour. And yeah, it was a bit strange, all right.
What was the dynamic like? There were so many Irish players. There were so many Irish coaching members of the coaching staff, and obviously Andy Farrell as well. Was it kind of was everyone behaving like they would in Irish camp, or were the coaches kind of trying to act, I suppose, a little removed, more so than they maybe would in Irish camp when you know each other so well? Were they trying to be like, okay, we don't know anyone, we're kind of judging everyone with fresh eyes, or were they very much the same Andy Farrell, the same Simon
No, they
Easterby?
they were the same. Andy Farrell, they were the same. All the coaches were the same. It was a similar environment that they created, where they want people to enjoy themselves. They are obviously serious, and when you're on, you're on. When you work hard, when you're working, you work hard. But I think on a tour like that, you have to have a bit of crack. You have to, I suppose, have a few beers together, and they're great at encouraging that. And I suppose from their point of view, I'm sure getting to know players from the other countries is pretty important to them, to know how to coach them, to know how to deal with them, to learn how. Because obviously different people take on different things in different ways. So definitely didn't hold back. They were themselves, and they're a great bunch of coaches, both like tactically in their rugby knowledge, but they also get it from a people perspective, and they enjoy a beer and having a bit of a laugh and whatnot. So I think that was great for the group as a whole and sort of encourage the lads to connect well.
All the Irish lads must have been chuffed, and they just kept announcing more Irish coaches were going because your chances surely of being picked
Yeah.
were just multiplying all the time.
Yeah, you're hoping, but you sometimes don't know if that's going to work in your favor or not. And yeah, you don't know what way it's going to work. But it was a weird one because obviously it's your normal Irish systems and way of playing, and you're nearly your calls and your moves, and you're opening that up to the opposition really. So I think that was good for player buy-in that like the English, Scottish, Welsh lads saw how open they were and how revealing of, I suppose, our secrets, so to say. And I suppose that helped them open up and give more of themselves and what they thought. And yeah, I think it was pretty conducive to a good team environment and connections.
Interesting, you said that. I hadn't kind of thought of it that way. So, like when Ireland play the Six Nations next year, say they play England in Twickenham, like they'll have some of those guys will have a really good insight into how Ireland like to play. Like, will you guys have to kind of change terminologies or do little tweaks or how will that work? I hadn't actually considered that part of it.
Yeah, yeah. Like we shared, I suppose, a lot of IP with them, and they'll definitely know our systems, both in attack and defence, a bit more. But I suppose that'll probably be the challenge for us. Rugby's an ever sort of changing sport; it's always evolving. But a lot of the nuts and bolts will be the same come Six Nations. So I think we'll just have to do things better than ever. I'm sure the coaches have a few ideas, but it's the nature of a Lions tour. You can't really hold secrets, hold back anything. It was always going to be a tough challenge against a newly informed Australia side. So from their point of view, I'm sure you can't be regretting. Oh, I wish I didn't hold this back or this back. And I think the players bought into that as well. So
Yeah. So does Finn Russell have like the entire like basically Ireland playbook now at his fingertips?
well, I think that's Goody's challenge that he'll have to come up with new ideas and like I suppose what one way to look at it is like if we do our stuff so well, I suppose you'd like to think it'll still be tough to defend against, say, an attack. Um, that yeah, we play similar to say Leinster, and it could be the same for other teams. And a lot of teams are trying to do the same things. It's just small little cues on how you do it, which they might take. But ultimately, good rugby should overcome any sort of pre-existing knowledge.
Hopefully, from an Irish
Yeah,
perspective,
yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Pressure's on.
was there any kind of was it in reverse in any way? Like, was there any player in particular you felt like you learned something from? Any of the guys from other countries that maybe you wouldn't have come across, or someone you felt that you picked up some nuggets from over the course of the tour?
Yeah, definitely. Like it was interesting, sort of seeing the perspective of sort of different back three players. Like I roomed with Elliot Daly for a week. He's obviously very experienced. I think what was it, three Lions tours he's been on, and just the way he sees the game. You obviously don't really know how I suppose Saracens or English do things from a back three perspective. So definitely took a lot off him. Then Richard Wigglesworth as well. He was more of like a kicking strategy and coach and worked a lot with the back three, and he had a few ideas for us about how we train high balls and how we counter attack as well. So getting a new perspective from those sort of players as well as coaches was great.
What was it like playing with Finn Russell? Like, he's such a unique player, and maybe different to some of the out halves you would usually play with. So I wonder how you found playing in a back line with Finn Russell, because sometimes he does things that seem maybe off the cuff, and I wonder, is it hard to be on the same page sometimes as Finn because he's such a creative player?
Yeah, yeah, it was. I wouldn't say a challenge. I thought it was cool. It was exciting playing with them. Like, yeah, it probably seems off the cuff a lot of the time because it is off the cuff. He's just that sort of player. But it's exciting. You always have to be ready, and to be fair to him, one thing that sort of struck me with him is that he really doesn't complicate the game of rugby. He likes just keeping it simple. In the way he plays, he's sort of got a more laid back approach to maybe the likes of Sexto in how he prepares but ultimately they both get themselves ready to play come game day yeah, it was cool getting a different perspective and sort of getting insights into how he sees the thing or sees things and sees the game. And yeah, a lot of it was less shape, more just play heads up, play flat when they're soft and D, like skip passes rather than like pretty shape and picking the right decisions off the back of it. So yeah, that was cool. Sometimes to not overcomplicate things is the best way to do it.
I wonder if were lads picking your brain as well because as a fullback, just from watching you anyway, like you're so good at covering the field and the space. Like you seem to have just a great feel for where the opposition are going to be putting the ball. Is that something that you just, is it instinctual? Is it from watching the opposition's tape where they like to kick? You just always seem to be able to get to the ball at the right time. Like how much of that is learned? How much of that is just a feel for the game?
It was, I'd say, like probably definitely learned at the early stages of my career, and probably a bit more instinctual now. Like from working with Stuart Lancaster with Felipe Contepomi, probably would have ingrained habits in me, and then obviously Faz as well, and taken bits from sort of a lot of coaches that I've worked with, and but with Leinster and Ireland, we've got some class names there, and constantly sort of tweaking little bits in my backfield coverage or um, different to different sort of D systems. Say with Jack Nienaber, it's different to a Stuart Lancaster, which is different to Faz and Cy Easterby. So um, yeah, it's probably a combination of all them, and then learning off players. That's often the best as well. Like I already touched on learning from Elliot Daly on how he sees things, even learning from Geordie Barrett, who's got a Southern Hemisphere perspective where they have different ways and different people covering the backfield than we do up here. So yeah, it's a combination of being in the room with a lot of different experienced, more clever people than myself.
What's kind of the top?
Cleverer.
Yeah, what's the top thing on
Yeah.
your list for like good full back play? Like, how do you judge yourself? What's the number one thing after a match you like, or the number one thing if you're even watching a match and you're watching the fullback in particular that you kind of say, okay, they did this the best, and this is the most important part of being a fullback.
Like I suppose there's different elements like defensively wise. Obviously, the aerial and high ball skills would be a big one for me, and something I'd pride myself on. And there's that, and just the whole backfield coverage and last man in defense. The reliability of that from a defensive point of view is certainly one thing from a D perspective. Then in attack, it's sort of each their own for being a different style of fullback. Like um, the Villy Laroues are probably more like a kicking, passing, distribution, second playmaker sort of style, as opposed to others. So it's sort of putting your own mark on it as a 15 rather than any one thing in particular that you pride yourself on. If
How
that
would you
makes
break
sense.
down someone like Will Jordan? He's going to probably be the fullback in Chicago. He played there for most of the rugby championship. Like he's such a lethal attacker. Like his try
Yeah,
record is off
yeah,
the
yeah.
charts. Like what would your analysis be of Will Jordan and what his strengths are and what why he's so good?
Yeah, you said it. Like his try scoring record speaks for itself. Like he was been on the wing for the last few years with New Zealand, but like he's making that 15 position his own, and I think like he played 20s there. That's where he's naturally probably most comfortable from an outside perspective. I'd see, and that's sort of a rare quality as a 15 to have such a try scoring record. I know he puts me to shame on that one, but he's a class act, isn't he? He's electric pace wise and he's just a good all-round footballer. I think what he played cricket for underage New Zealand teams, and yeah, I'm sure there's a few more talents in there as well.
And from an Irish perspective, it looks like it could be Jamie Osborne starting. Mac Hansen picked up that unfortunate injury last week. Like, if it is Jamie, like, obviously he plays at centre a lot. He's played on the wing a bit for Ireland. He's such a good athlete. Like, what does he bring to fullback? Because he might be slightly different to yourself. Like, when you watch him play fullback, and for people who might be watching him in Chicago potentially, like, what should they be looking out for in terms of what he brings to the 15 jersey?
He's a class act, isn't he? Like he's obviously got a good bit of experience in all those positions, as you said. He conducted himself so well in South Africa, which is like the toughest of stages really, and he sort of kicked on from there. Like he's obviously a big frame, much bigger than myself, which is why he can't play in the centres. He's got a class left boot on him, one to rival the length that Lowy has as well. So yeah, and then he's obviously such a good footballer as well. He reads the game so well, with good sort of lines in attack that he's probably learned from his centres days. But doing that one position out is always a bit of a point of difference too.
Where do you kind of? I know you're going to won't be playing in November, but how do you feel like Ireland are developing? Like, the World Cup is 2 years away, which seems both long and short. It's mad. Like, Paris doesn't seem that long ago, but the calendar just keeps ticking on. Like, do you think Ireland are in a good place?
Yeah, it's obviously a challenging point, having sort of two groups over the summer, a group with the Lions, with some coaches there, and then a group in Portugal and Georgia, um, as well. And it's the first time to connect, and you're doing that in what 11 days before a huge game against New Zealand. So it's really challenging. But no, I think Irish rugby's in a good spot. Obviously, I think the number of us who are on the Lions tour sort of speaks for itself. And obviously the provinces are getting very competitive. Obviously, a disappointing for us on the weekend with the Munster loss, but it shows sort of what good place that they're coming into, and Ulster obviously going well as well. So that bodes well, for the international team, when all provinces are sort of firing.
And what's the challenge in coming back in and trying to hit the ground running right away? Like, for the Irish guys, it's like, say, Tyke Byrne at the weekend looked unbelievable straight off the bat. They won't have played a huge amount of rugby, whereas New Zealand will have had their rugby championship. Like, I know you probably experienced it yourself, coming back after the international break in the summer and having to hit the ground running from the get go. What kind of challenges does that pose?
Yeah, it's a huge challenge, and like I suppose some players have the ability, I suppose, like Ty Byrne and others. Like there was a few of the Leinster lads who were good on the weekend, and a few who probably would admit themselves that were a bit rusty. So it just takes a few a little bit longer than others, and I think it's probably a good wake up call for them that they can't presume that it's going to happen. I'm sure the coaches will go hard on them this week and next week in the lead up to the New Zealand game, but that's the challenge, to get up to a world class mark in such a short period of time. And New Zealand will be firing, but it's nearly towards the end of their season, which can have its challenges as well. So I can't say for one or the other which is a better position, sort of starter season or end of season. I suppose we'll only know come next Saturday, and it sort of adds to the excitement and the challenge for both sides.
For sure, it's a great way to start November. Will you be glued to the Irish team over in the course of November, or are you kind of like one of those guys who, when you're not playing, you don't really want to watch it. You're almost like fear of missing out.
Nah, nah, I'll be glued to it for sure.
Well,
I'm disappointed I won't be over in Soldier Field watching it now, but I'll be at the games in the Aviva. I'm looking forward to them. I'm jealous I won't be playing, but you got to support the team. I obviously love sport, love rugby. I'm enjoying going to the Leinster games, and yeah, looking forward to what these will hold for us.
yeah, I'm sure you're in demand in the corporate boxes to talk about that Lions try. I feel like that'll be a handy gig for the rest of your life.
We'll see. We'll see. I know my old fella's telling me to milk it, but No, I'll hopefully even get into camp at some stage as well. I know I've been on to Goody and Sexto about sort of getting back involved in one of the weeks, and yeah, still having the rugby players cap on. I think I'll leave the corporate stuff to the ex-retirees, and it's sort of their time to milk it.
Yeah, well, you can put your rugby brain to use and come up with this new game plan so all the other nations don't have like every single secret that Ireland have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the challenge. Absolutely.
Well, Hugo, thanks so much for joining me. Best of luck with your recovery.
Cheers, Will. Thanks for the chat.